Dan Coates. I'm a solution evangelist at ACI Worldwide, and this is What is Tokenization? Let's spend 5 minutes right now and learn a little bit about it. Here we go. Tokenization, what it is. Tokenization is the process of turning sensitive data into non sensitive data called tokens. It can be used in a database or internal system without bringing it into PCI scope. So you can store this in other databases, another system, maybe it's a marketing system, maybe it's a customer service, customer management system, and it doesn't bring it into PCI scope. Very useful to break down those silos. Let's look at it more in the context of payments. You probably have a lot of payment systems out there today, whether it's an in-store system or maybe you're fully digital, so it's an e-commerce, an m-commerce system. You've got a recurring engine or a subscription engine for processing. And on top of that, finally, you have some corporate functions, more than likely refunds and other administrative things you have to do. Well, more than likely, you have to send payment data from all of those systems. So all of those systems can potentially be within PCI scope, especially if you're storing the data. Now, more than likely, on the backside, a lot of these systems that this agree probably have their own tokens. Subsequent transactions, more than likely, you have to figure out which token to send in. So, for the parking platforms, they have their own tokens. The acquire platforms, they have their own tokens. So, understanding what to send at what time, you have to use. Not only that, but on the front side, we don't know which customer is doing what because there's no tokens for one single payment using. What we really need to do is put a payment system in the middle, and that'll help us out significantly because it'll consolidate all of those connections. And what's even better is if you take that payment system and either it has its own token service or token engine or can use the tokenization gateway. And so that way we can use a single token across all of our different channels, all of our different systems. And that way we can, in fact, track the customer across there. We can reward them for loyalty. We can understand what our customer is doing. And conversely, on the backside of it, we can send the appropriate payment tokens to the appropriate systems upstream while keeping everything out of scope. And this, of course, helps us keep our systems out of scope as well. So now that we understand a little bit about that, let's take a look at what tokens actually look like. It could be anything that uniquely represents a card number. I could call it Bob or Dan or whatever if I wanted to, but that's not terribly useful. And there's a whole bunch of card numbers and very few names that I'm going to know off the top of my head. So we're going to probably use some common formats. So for example, we can use a non-format preserving token. We can just use a global unique identifier. Unfortunately, a lot of the databases and other systems that we store payment card numbers in are expecting 15 to 19 digit numeric card numbers. So that's not going to be terribly useful. So let's do a format preserving one. And we can certainly do that. We can even make them length preserving. So here in the case, we've got an Amex card. It's only 15 digits long. We want a token that's 15 digits long. So that'll be useful to have that. And that way we can identify those things quite easily. Another option is we can have self-identifying tokens. Maybe they'll start with an 8 or a 9 or something like that. We could even break it with a mod 10 check. So typically, most credit card numbers comply with this algorithm called mod 10 or Luhn, Luhn. Well, if we decide to break that, then we can immediately tell, at least our computers can tell, whether or not something is in fact a token or a real card number. So that makes it really interesting and useful and potentially valuable to our systems. Now let's talk a little bit about vaulted versus vaultless. You probably have heard of these two different technologies, and it's important to understand the difference. The difference is that with a vault tokenization, you're actually using a database to store all of those card numbers and translate them. They're stored in a database and they're done in a very secure way, and the key is stored in a very secure way. And there's all kinds of really appropriate things that the technology and encryption geeks really geek out over. But nonetheless, it's important to comply with all those standards and have a really secured system. Then there's this thing called vaultless tokenization, and the vaultless folks say, well, we're going to be faster in the database and quote unquote more secure. And there's some debate about that in all those cases. But in any case, they're using an algorithm, and all they do is just pop that card number into their magical algorithm, and out pops a token. And going the opposite direction, they can stick a token in there, and out pops the card number, assuming you have the appropriate rights and privileges. So the question is, which one of these is sanctioned and verified and is secure under PCI? Well, guess what? Vaultless tokenization, absolutely no problem under PCI DSS or the upcoming PCI, I believe it's SSF framework that's coming up. But guess what? Vault tokenization also applies to this. There's no problem with that at all. You can use either one, and either one of these may be appropriate for various circumstances. So it's important to understand the features and values of each. Now let's take a look about what I can actually tokenize. Can I tokenize card numbers? Yes. Can I store cardholder data such as cardholder name, service code, and expiry date? Yeah, absolutely. But what you can't store is some of that stuff at the bottom. So you certainly can't tokenize that stuff. You're never going to be able to store full track data or CVV2 or the pin block or anything like that. So we can't tokenize it. It's important to know those things. And of course, I've got them nicely color coded at the bottom so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. But what we really want to do is render that pan unreadable because that's what PCI requires us to do. So if I have tokenization, I'm exempt from all the PCI stuff. Wrong. That's entirely not correct. It does help us in that whole protect stored cardholder data, the requirement 3. It partially helps us if we're transmitting tokens after we've done the initial tokenization for requirement 4, but realize there's 12 total requirements, and we've only fully impacted one and partially impacted another. So there's another 10 requirements that we still have to comply with. So I hope that's been really helpful and useful, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.